Welcome to a training video of the email payslips screen in PayPak Professional 4.0. This screen is used to print and email payslips. So let's sign in and show you how it works. The email payslip screen is found under the Transactions section of the menu. So we click on the button, and here is the screen. Let's start with a look at the layout of the screen, then we'll show you how it works. At top left, you have a selection list which allows you to select the payslips. It can be by batch ID, by batch date, or by earning date. If I choose batch ID, you get the last posted batch number. If you choose batch date, it's the last posted batch date, and if you choose earning date, it is the last earning date from posted batches. Under that, there is a reference, which is optional. Under that, there's the payments, where you can choose the payslips either combined or separate. There's a style, to choose the style of payslip you wish to print or email. Under the style, there's a description of the style and the paper size for the style. Next, we have a search box, which allows you to search for a particular employee in the list of payslips. To the right of those, we have some options. There's one to print excluding email, to round cash payments, to show the account number, to show the year to date. There's an email delay, and the number of seconds that delay will be set to. There's a select by set and the set size. There's password protection, which this will be ticked for customers who have purchased the password protection feature. That's not free, you have to pay extra for that. And if you purchase that, this is what you will see. This box will be, you can turn it on or off, but this is what you'll see when the password protection is turned on. If you don't have the password protection, you don't see that section. So if password protection is on, you get these options here to send the password key and to send with no password if validation fails. And as I said, these password protection sections over here. Top right, we have a list of the 4 payment methods and an option to print or email for each of the 4. Then we have a total, the number of payslips selected for printing, the number of payslips selected for emailing, the total number of payslips selected, total number excluded, and the total number displayed. The main part of the screen is the payslips grid, which will list the payslips for the selected batch or batches. Under that, we have a progress bar, which displays the progress of the processing options. And under that, we have a variety of buttons which control various functions of this screen. So let's start with the select option. If you have just one payroll per pay period, you have either only weekly payroll and you run that once a week, or you have a monthly payroll which you run once a month, the batch date is fine, because you will be choosing by batch date and your batch dates will never overlap, or you will not have more than one batch date in your payrolls. So that's fine, you choose batch date, and by default the last posted batch appears here. If you have, however, weekly payroll and monthly payroll, there may come a time when the date for the weekly payroll and the monthly payrolls overlap, and in that case they may be the same thing. And if you want to print, maybe you've printed the weekly payroll payslips already and you want to now print the monthly payslips but not the weekly ones again, you can choose the batch ID, and that would allow you to select the batch for the monthly separate from the batch for the weekly. It can also be a case where you have, maybe you have like 5 stores or 5 departments. They get paid every week. You have 5 payroll sets, 5 separate batches. The batches all carry the same date, but you wish to print or email the payslips separately. Maybe they don't all come in at the same time, or for whatever reason that you have. So in that case, you could use the batch ID as opposed to the batch date. The earning date is not used as often as the other two. It's mostly batch date or batch ID that customers will go for. But for the earning date, if you have a single batch which contains 2 sets of earning dates, you can print payslips for one of those earning dates by choosing the earning date that you require. Or you can have a scenario where you have 2 separate batches and one batch has the same earning date is found in both batches, 2 or more batches, and you wish to print all the payslips for that particular earning date from across those multiple batches. So that's how that would work. Let's go and show you how the option here can be changed. Now if you choose batch ID, as I said, it gives you the last posted batch. If the batch is unposted, you're not going to see it. You can't select it from the screen to print payslips for it using any of the options in here. Let's say you did not want batch number 199. If you want to print a different batch, select a different batch or email a different batch, you can click here on these 3 dots, and that gives you a list of the batches. It has a list of the years, 2021, 2020, and 2019. As you click on the year, it shows you the batches for that year, and then you can select the ones you want. Now, normally the batches selected are the last ones, as I said, the last posted ones. In this particular case, we have 3 years, 2019, 2020, and 2021. Normally, you would expect that if you'd posted a batch, your last posted batch would be for 2021, and that's what you would see. In this particular case, the selected batch is from 2019, and the reason for that is this particular batch is a year-to-date batch, and it was posted for 2019, but it was the last batch that was ever posted. It's batch number 199. Prior to that, in 2021, the previous batch was 198. So you can come here, and if I wanted to pick a different batch, I could turn this one off. And if I wanted, say, batch number 50 here, I could tick that one. I click on the apply button, and now I have batch number 50. Likewise, I could come here. I could turn off number 50. If I wanted more than one batch, I could pick, say, these 2 here, or maybe those 2 and this one, or even those 3 and 1 from 2021. So now I have 4 batches selected, 1 from 2021, 3 from 2019. I click on apply, and those are the selected batch numbers. It works the same way for the batch date. I go to batch date. By default, that's the last posted batch date. If I want a different batch or a different set of batches, I click on the 3 dots here, and I can choose this one if I wanted to, 14th of May, and apply. Or if I wanted that one plus maybe this fellow, this one, and this one here. I apply, and these are the dates which have been selected, and it would print the payslips for those batch dates. And it works the same way for the earning date. I'm going to go back and just hit new so that we get the default 14th of June. Now, under that we have a reference. The reference is optional. Some customers, when they generate the payslips, they will not use a reference except in an extraordinary case, which is what I tend to do. If it's a payslip for, say, bonuses, or a payslip for vacation pay or something out of the ordinary, then you can add a reference. There are other customers, however, who every week for their weekly payroll, they will put week ending and they will add that in the reference there. For the purpose of this demo, we're going to say demo pay slip. Okay, so you'll see that in the reference. Next, we have the payments section, and you can choose either combine or separate. Now, if you choose combine, the employees who may have more than one payment will get one payslip. Let's give an example. You have someone who's going on vacation for 3 weeks, and they've also worked for the current week. So they're being paid for the 7th of the month, which they worked. They're also being paid for 3 weeks vacation on the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. If you choose separate, they get 4 pay slips. One for the 7th, one for the 14th, one for the 21st, one for the 28th. If you choose combine, they will get 1 pay slip combining the totals for those 4 periods. So you would select this according to whatever option you prefer. Then we have the style, and there are a number of styles in here. These are preset styles which you can choose from. Also, if you have a customized payslip, which we do for customers, we can create a customized payslip for you. Maybe you want your logo on a payslip, maybe you want your payslip designed a particular way. Maybe the styles that come by default have more information than you need, or not enough information, but we have a good variety of options on there. But many customers go for a customized payslip, usually with their logo, and there may be particular reasons that they have, maybe how they do business. Some companies do business a particular way. They want certain things shown on the payslip in a particular format. So if you had a custom payslip, it would appear in this list. Now we have a number of styles here, and let's start at the top. We've got the 2 per sheet. There's a description below, a brief description, and the paper size for that 2 per sheet. Next we have full page, then PayPak 3 portrait, PayPak 3 landscape, PayPak 3 portrait, PayPak 4 detail, PayPak 4 summary, a pocket, which is for dot matrix printers. The pocket payslips are for dot matrix printers which print continuous forms. We have the payslips with perforated paper and the holes along the side, and there are 3 styles there. And you got, well, another one is pocket half letter size. So you got 4 pocket styles, these 4 here, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other styles. These ones at the top, the first 6, these are designed for laser and dot matrix, and laser and inkjet printers. Laser and inkjet printers, like full sheet, cut sheet printers, and the others are for continuous sheet printers, the dot matrix printers. That's what the pocket ones are for. Next we have a search box, and that will be used to search for a particular employee, so that you can, maybe if you have a list maybe of you've got large number of employees, 200, 300, 600 employees. Some of our customers have over 900 employees in their payroll, over 1,000. You can search for someone quite easily, find their name, and just print the payslip for that one particular person. To the right, we have print excluding email, which what that will do is if the employee has an email address and has the option turned on to email payslips, they'll be selected in the list. Some customers, if the payslips are being emailed, they don't want to print payslips which have already been emailed or which can be emailed. Now let me show you the employee screen. We go to records and employees and just click on first, and here we have Carol Beavy. She has an email address and she has the option ticked to email payslips. So when you go to the payslip screen, she would automatically be selected for emailing payslips. Now here we have Kerry Bryan, and in this case there's an email address, but the option to email payslips is turned off, so she will not be selected automatically. Well, she will not be selected for emailing payslips because that option is turned off. You must have both options turned on. It cannot be changed from the email payslip screen. It's controlled here. So let's go back to the email payslip screen, and the next option is round cash payments. This is for where employees are being paid by cash, and in some countries they maybe there used to be cents in the past, or the 2-cent piece, which the EC used to use, and they're no longer used in those smaller denominations, and they're rounded maybe to 5 cents. This will be turned on if you have employees who are paid by cash and you wish to have their payslip show the rounded amount which they will be paid. We'll turn this on for the purpose of this demo. Next, you have show account number, and this controls whether the employee's bank account number will be shown on the payslip. Next option is show year to date. Normally the payslip would show the year to date total. Sometimes, however, you may have a case where the customer recently purchased PayPak. They bought it, say, in June. You've run your June payroll, and the year-to-date only shows the total for June, which is incorrect. You've not done a year-to-date batch yet. The year-to-date batch would allow you to enter the totals from January to May so that the payslip would show the correct year-to-date total. And we have a very good video on year-to-date batches, which I recommend you take a look at that if you need to enter year-to-date batches. So if you've not done the year-to-date batch yet for the current year, and you've only just started using the payroll, you may want to turn off the show year-to-date total so that your employees don't get payslips which show maybe a misleading figure or figures. Next, we have the email delay option. The process of emailing a payslip involves several steps. First of all, the software generates the payslip information for the selected employee. Then it creates a PDF file for that information, and then it creates the email and attaches the PDF file to the email. Additionally, if you are using the password protection feature, you will have a little bit more processing to be done. So it takes a little longer, and what we found happened with customers who had a large number of employees, over 500 employees usually, is that sometimes, depending on your connection speed to your database, depending on your internet speed for emailing out the payslips, depending on your processing speed of your computer, a number of various factors, sometimes the processing would stop. So if you had 500 payslips to send out, it might only send out 300 or 400 and then it stops, and the customer would have to restart from where it left off. So what we've found is if we added an email delay, which can be anywhere from 1 to 10 seconds, that resolved that problem. It made a little pause between each payslip to give the system time to catch up with whatever it was doing, to process the files and whatnot, and that resolved the problem. You can set the email delay to the number of seconds, as I said, from 1 to 10. The larger you set it, the longer it takes, so you may want to experiment with it. Maybe start with 1 or 2. If you're having this problem, start with 1 to 2 seconds, then maybe increment it till you reach a desirable outcome. Next we have select by set, and again this was for customers who had a large number of employees. In this particular case, they had around 500 employees. They were having the problem. We added the email delay. That resolved the problem, but then they got more employees. They expanded. So they ended up with around 900 employees, plus more than 900. And what we did then is we added this option to select by set. So if you have a case where you may have 950 employees, 950 payslips to send out, the select by set would allow you to take that 950 and divide it into sets, maybe of, by default is 100 each. You can go up to, I believe, 500 payslips per set in increments of 50. So if you had 950 payslips, it would divide that into 10 sets, 9 sets of 100 and 1 set of 50, and then you print the set at a time. So you select the first set, print or email that, or email it. Actually, this is for emailing. It could also be used for printing too, as a matter of fact. But you email that set, then you email the next set and the next set, and so on until you are finished. And we'll be showing you a bit more of that when we display, because you wouldn't see anything in this set list here until you displayed payslips, which we're going to do later. Top right, we have a list of the payment methods, and these are cash, check, deposit, and other. And for each one, you can choose to print or to email, and you can turn them on or off as you wish. So if you do not email payslips for employees who are paid by check, because the check carries a stub that shows the payslip information anyway, you could turn this off for print and email. If you don't email cash, employees who are paid by cash, you can turn off the email here, and you can print them only. So we'll just turn these back on and set them to the default. To the right, we have some totals: the number of emails selected for printing, the number of the number of payslips selected for printing, the number of payslips selected for emailing, total number of payslips selected, number of payslips excluded, and the overall number of payslips displayed. Under this, we have the payslips grid, which will list out the payslips for the selected batch or batches. Under that, there's a progress bar, which displays the progress as the payslips are being processed. Then we have a set of buttons at the bottom of the screen which control various functions for this screen. So let's get started. I've got my batch date. That's the last default batch date. I'm going to click on display, and here we have a list of 4 employees. They're all set for printing because they do not have email addresses. Now, I do not wish to use the set of this particular batch because I want to pick a batch that has more information so I can show you that for the purpose of this demo. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to turn off the 11th of June. I'll choose instead the 14th of May. Apply that. Hit display. Good. And there we are. We have a much larger list of entries, 34 entries. Some of them have email addresses, some of them do not. Some are paid in various different ways. Some are paid by deposit, some are other, some are check, and some are cash. There's a cash one there. Now, so you would display the entries as I've just done. I'm going to turn off this email delay because we're not using that. And then having display, just hit display again. Right, and you can see the options here. It's set to print 34. And if I wanted to print them, I just click on the print button. It prints those. If I wanted to turn off, say, a Carrie Bryan, I could turn off these entries here for her. She's out. So I can select them individually. Okay. Also for the email, I can turn on or off the options for those who have an email address. If there's no email address, you're not allowed to select. This column here for password protected, this is used when the password protection is turned on. There's an option here for password protection. That's an additional paid feature which some customers purchase. If you've purchased it, this box will be ticked and there will be this display which you'll see. Well, if you can, and if you have not purchased it, you will not see it. You also have under password protection options for adding to send the password key and to send with no password if validation fails. Those customers who have purchased the password protection feature, they would receive instructions from us as to how this section of the screen would work. For the purpose of this demo, we are not using the password protection feature, and you would not be able to turn this on or off. Normal customers can't do that. That was just for the purpose of this demo that this was allowed to be shown. Okay, so we have our defaults. I'm going to do a display. The payslips come up, and I would now be able to print them. Now, before we print them, let's look back at the styles. I'm going to preview each of the various styles for you so you can see what they look like. Let's start with the two. Well, the default one of the more popular ones is the PayPak 3 Portrait. So let's start with that. That's very popular. Although we tend to be moving more towards the PayPak 4 detail and summary ones. But the PayPak 3 Portrait is a fairly common one, very widely used. So if you wanted to print these, you click on the print button and up comes the print manager screen. Now you would then click the print button to print them or the preview to preview them. The email button is not for emailing payslips to employees. Let me repeat that. The email button in this screen, the print manager screen, is not for emailing the payslips to the employees. The email button in this screen is used to send an email of what would be printed to someone. And that could be anyone. You may have someone in your organization who needs to receive an email of what the payslips would look like so they can vet them or approve them or whatever. And that's what this could be used for. To email payslips to employees, you click the email button down here. That's what that will be used for. Okay? So this is just for printing. Now, this screen has its own video which you can look at to see how the printing functions work. But you would normally just preview. So let's preview the payslips. And here they are. Now, you've got Carrie Bryan, the earnings and the deductions and the totals at the bottom and the net pay. And these are her pay slips. She has one for the 14th of May, one for the 4th of June, one for the 21st of May. Then there's David Bryan. He has the 14th of May. Carrie Bryan has the 28th of May. Right. So it prints. Usually you will get about 3 pay slips per sheet. If you have more details for a particular person, it may display 2 per sheet. This is an 8.5 by 11 sheet. If you have less information, like how this one is here, you might sometimes be able to get to squeeze 4 onto 1 sheet, depending on, as I said, the number of lines that you have for both earnings and deductions. So that's what that payslip looks like. This payslip, if you wish to cut it, like on a guillotine, to cut these slips, if you're printing it to cut it, you need to cut these individually because they do not line up from sheet to sheet. The ones that have more will push down more. So as you see, if you were to cut here, this will come across here. This first one will be fine. But when you cut here for the second one, you're cutting off piece of the top of this third one here. That's if you were to come straight across here. So these will not line up. There is an option which we found some years ago where you can save it as, you can save the payslips as Adobe Acrobat document, and then from Adobe you can line them up for individual pages, but that is not, I don't think that works with the single sheet payslips. That is for the I believe that would work for the continuous ones, which are for dot matrix printers, etc. Okay, so this is that style, PayPak 3 portrait. Now, there's also a PayPak 3 landscape, and that's very similar to that one, with the exception that the sheet of paper, which is letter size sheet, instead of printing portrait, it prints landscape, which allows you to fit longer descriptions onto the payslip. These descriptions are longer now, which is sometimes the case for some customers, but a consequence of that is that you may not get 3 per sheet. You get 3 here, but the first 2 pages were only showing 2 per sheet. So you may end up using more pages of paper. So you get a better fit, a longer fit, well, more, you can fit more. It's not as crammed or as condensed as the portrait layout, but it will use more paper. Of course, if you're emailing the payslips, then it really doesn't matter. That's the route to go. Again, too, these will not line up if you are cutting them on a guillotine. You'd have to cut them individually with a guillotine or scissors or whatever you use. So let's close that and let's look at the other styles. We have a 2 per sheet, which will allow you to cut the payslips on a guillotine, and this is what that looks like. See, this is half a letter size sheet here, but when you print it, it would print 2 on the actual sheet. You cut them with the guillotine and they'll line up quite nicely. So if this works for you, then you can go ahead with that. It uses a bit more paper than the previous options because it only prints 2 per sheet. It's limited to that. Others, as I said, can print up to 3, sometimes 4, depending on the number of lines you have per payslip. Okay, so that was the 2 per sheet. Next one is the full page. The full page payslip looks like this. And this is ideal if you are emailing payslips. There's some customers who do not at all like the idea of printing one letter size sheet for a single payslip. but if you're emailing it, no problem. And it has a very nice layout. It's very readable. And again, as I said earlier, you can get your logo placed here. We could do a customized Payslip for you, where you'd put your logo here maybe, or you can have a slogan or whatever you wish to have on this Payslip. So let's close this and move to the next one. After full page, well, we did the PayPak 3 ones. There's a PayPak 4 one, and we're trying to push these as the successor to the PayPak 3 styles. So the PayPak 4 detail would look like this. Let's bring it up. Preview. Right, it has a much cleaner look. You will have the account numbers for like the NS number and your POA number, your TAMIS number, your tax ID number, tax TIN number, the account number for deductions. They're all listed here. And again, you may be able to get 2, sometimes 3, depending on the layout. Now, with the PayPak 3, let's go back and have a look at this. This will use more paper than the PayPak 3 because with the PayPak 3 format, you get the earnings on the left and the deductions beside them on the right. Whereas with this style, the earnings are on top and the deductions are below. So the result is a taller payslip, and that uses more paper. But the layout, some people find it more readable. You have more room. It prints much more information than would be found on the PayPak 3 formats, the PayPak 3 landscape or portrait. Okay, so this is 25 pages. Some of the ones we saw before were 14 pages of paper. And if the person has more than one net pay account, I don't know if any of these have it. If the person deposits some of their money to another branch, the net pay, all the net pay is separated. You'll see more than one line for that. If that's the case, which is not a feature that you will get with the PayPak 4. Another feature of this payslip is that for employees who have loans, it prints a loan summary, which you do not get that with the PayPak 3 one. It just prints the loan balance. The advantage of the PayPak 4 one is, and here's your loans, see? It will list all the loans. So here's an example here. You have the loan, you have the date of the loan, the description of the loan, the date, and the balance. The advantage of the PayPak 4 payslip is that you have an employee with 3 loans, and they only pay against one of those loans in that particular pay period, or they didn't pay for against any of those loans in that pay period, it will still print out the balance for all 3 loans. It will print the information for all 3 loans, and the employee can see that at any point in time when they get their pay slip, whether they've made a payment on those loans in that pay period or not. The PayPak 3 format only shows the balance for loans where there was a deduction in a particular period. So that's an important point to consider in looking at the options between those 2 styles. The PayPak 4 again has 2 styles, and the PayPak 3 has 2 styles. So let's go to the other PayPak 4 style, which is the PayPak 4 summary, and we'll print that and preview. This is a bit more condensed than the PayPak 4 detail. It's only 23 pages now, because what that it will do is if you have a person who's paid for the same pay rate and they're paid $5 in one case and $6 in another case per unit, that is, the PayPak 4 detail will print those 2 lines as 2 separate lines, whereas the PayPak 4 summary will combine them into one line. So it's a bit more compact. That's why we get 23 pages as opposed to the 25 that were shown before, but it still shows the loans at the bottom of the section. There's the loan section. So it's very similar to the PayPak for detail. Okay, let's close that. So the next styles are for pocket payslips, and these are payslips which would be printed on continuous forms, dot matrix printers. So let's print, and I will preview this, and that's what this would look like. See, these will print on a continuous form, dot matrix printer, so you're not looking at bold fonts or graphics or logos or anything of that sort in here. It's very simple style which would print on a continuous form, and sometimes that continuous form is blank, sometimes it has boxes, sometimes it has lines, sometimes it has because it's a pre-printed form, it may carry the company logo. There'll be lots of the pocket ones peel off, so you can't see the information for the person. So that's the pocket style. There are 4 of them. So this is one. There is pocket by category. Which is the same thing, but it's grouped by category. So it prints the category, each category it groups the employees by category. And then the department would group by department. So that if you have payslips to be sent to a particular location, if you print them by department, you print them off and you look for where one department ends, you rip those off, separate them, and you send that to one department, then you send the next set to the other department. You don't have to sort them. They're automatically sorted if you choose by category or department, depending on how you wish to distribute them. Okay. Finally, there is pocket half letter size. The original, the 3 pocket ones here, these will print, these are set to print 3 slips per 8.5 letter size sheet. That's a fixed size. We have one that will print 2 per letter size sheet. So we print and we preview. And there you have it. See, much more space in case that you have a larger number of pay rates or deductions or whatever for your employee's pay slip. We can customize this for you as well. So if you wanted this sorted by department or sorted by category, or you wanted it maybe even a different size, continuous paper, or the information laid out differently, we can adjust that for you. So those are your options. Those are the default payslip styles, and as I said, you could have customized payslips which would appear in this list. Okay, moving on. To email the payslips, you click on the email button, and that will bring up the email manager screen. There's a video for that. Check out the video, and that will explain to you everything you need to know about emailing documents. This will email the payslips to the employees who've been selected for emailing. Now, in this case, we have a set. Why is it taking so long? I didn't email anything, did I? Okay. So anyway, we have a set now. So let's say we want to divide them into sets. This is what your set will look like, because we've displayed the employees, the pay slips, and we have 34 pay slips. The smallest set possible is 100, so set 1 in this case becomes 34 pay slips. If we go back to the example I gave earlier of 950 pay slips, this list would then display 10 entries. Set 1 for 100 pay slips, set 2 for 100 pay slips, and so on right up to set 9, 100 pay slips, and then set 10 would have 50 pay slips. And to process, you would just choose the set you want. It would appear, and you either print or email it. It's mainly used for emailing. It could also be used for printing. Nothing wrong with that. Now, next option would be the settings and the reset. By the way, let me show you, before I do that, let me show you the search. Let's come here. Where's my mouse? Why is my, don't know why my mouse is an hourglass, but let me go. We go to search and we want to look for Marshall. M-A-R-S-H-A-L-L. I press enter, and this is the list of Marshalls, entries from Marshalls in the list. And I could turn on or off the ones that I wanted. So if I wanted a particular employee, I could, let's hit display again. All right, get rid of that hourglass. I don't know what happened there. Let's say we wanted, there are some Smiths in here. S-M-I-T-H. Press enter. And there's an entry for Janelle Smith and Michael Smith. If I only wanted to print for Janelle Smith, I could turn this fellow off. I could say apply here. What I would have done first is say none. Then I go to Smith. I press enter. Janelle Smith. Double click on her. Well, apply, sorry. And she is now ticked. Janelle Smith. Let's say we wanted Ann Lowe. I want someone who only has one entry. Said, right? S-A-A-E-D. I press enter. And S-A-A-E-D. Sorry, it's S-A-E-E-D. Spelled it wrong. So I press enter and it goes directly to her entry. See? And then I can turn her on, and that will be the way you can print an individual payslip, or indeed email it if there was an email option. You cannot turn on or off the email option if the person has no email address or in the list here. And that only appears, as I said, if they have an email address and the option to email payslips is turned on. You must have both turned on. So this will allow you to print or email the single payslip. Now, what about the case where you want to print payslips for someone over a period of time? Let's say Kara Saeed. We want to print payslips for her from, let's come up, and let's say we want to print all of her 2,000 payslips. This is what you do. You turn off your 2021. You turn on 2020. I could say all. Well, let's not do all. That might take a while. There's 55 of them. Let's not be so ambitious. Let's just pick her December 2020 payslips. Okay. So I turn these on. Individual pay dates. I say apply. This will display payslips for those dates for all employees. So I hit display. They come up. They're separated. I would say none. And then I would just go to Saeed. I can just S-A-E-D. That's what it was, right? Oh, so there she is. So I could now come here, and if I wanted to print or email her payslips, I could just say all like that, apply that, and we have 6 selected for printing, 6 selected for emails. Where's she in this list? There she is. And I can now print her payslips for those past periods. Print or email. Very, very easy. See? Let's hit new and go back to where we were before. Right. Now, the settings button will save your settings up here. So your choice for the batch ID or batch date, how you select the payslips, your choices for the style. You do not have to come in here every time and choose PayPak 3 Portrait. If that's the style you want, you select it there and you just hit settings, and whenever you re-enter the screen, it's preset. You're also your choice for the payments, whether to combine or separate. All these options here. See? So you choose them. Even the ones here too, you can set these as well. They're saved in the settings. System remembers them. If you need to clear the settings, you hit the reset button. That clears out the settings. There will be a video button here to display the same video which you're watching now. And then there's the exit, which brings this demo to a close. So I thank you very much for the time you spent. It's always been a pleasure, and do look out for the next training video from PayPak Professional 4.0. Thank you and take care.